Another type of specific word problem, or a specific type of word problem, is the profit equals revenue minus cost word problem. This is a question that asks you to find either the revenue of something or the cost of something or the profit of something where you're given the two other variables. So if you're given the profit and the revenue, you might be asked to find the cost or vice versa. So for example, if a store bought 3 sweaters for $40 each and then sold all 3 for $65 each, what was the total profit that the store made on the 3 sweaters? We're told the cost, how much the store bought the sweaters for. We're told the revenue, how much the store sold the sweaters for. We're asked to find the profit, which is how much money the store made. So the profit, which is normally written as pi like this, is equal to the revenue, in this case 3 times 65, because if you sell 3 sweaters for $65, you're making that much money, 3 times 65, minus the cost, which is 3 times 40. And then you just work this out. 3 times 65 is going to be 195. 3 times 60 is 180. 3 times 5 is 15. 180 plus 15 is 195. Minus 3 times 20, or 3 times 40, which is 120. 195 minus 120 gives us 75. So the store made $75 on the 3 sweaters. When you do these types of problems, just remember this formula. The profit is equal to the revenue minus the cost.
Please pause the lecture and try these questions on your own. When you're done with the questions, you can resume the lecture and then take a look at the explanations. Okay, let's take a look at question number 4. Question 4 says that Company A makes computers. The total cost for Company A to run its factory for a month is $300,000 plus $400 for each computer that it makes. If each computer sells for $900 and Company A sold 1,600 computers last month, what was Company A's gross profit per computer? The gross profit is the money earned from selling the computers minus the total cost of making the computers. Let's assume that all of the 1,600 computers that were sold were the only ones that were made. So the Company A made 1,600 computers and sold all of them. First, the cost is equal to $300,000 for the fixed cost, or the cost to run the factory for a month, plus 400 times 1,600 for the costs per computer, because if it costs 400 to make each computer and you make 1,600 of them, the total cost for making those 400 computers is 400 times 1,600. The revenue is going to be however many computers you sold, or the company sold, times the selling price of each computer, which is 900. So it'll be 400 times 900. That's the total revenue that this company makes. First, let's figure out the total cost. The total cost is 300,000 plus the product of 400 and 1,600. To find out what 400 times 1,600 is, multiply 4 times 16 to get 64, and then add all the zeros that remain. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros that remain. So the total cost is going to be 300,000 plus 640,000, which is 940,000. So the total cost for these 1,600 computers is $940,000 if we count the fixed costs plus the cost per computer. Now the revenue is going to be, not 400 times 900, it's going to be 900 times 1,600, because 900 is the price per computer and 1,600 is the total number of computers that were sold. So they sold 1,600 and each one sells for $900. So we'll do the same thing to figure out what 900 times 1,600 is. You multiply 9 times 16, which is 144, and then you add the 4 zeros. So it turns out that the company made $1,440,000 last year. That was the revenue, and the costs were $940,000. The difference between these two is $500,000, because remember, the profit is the money earned from selling the computers. So the gross profit is going to be $500,000 for the 1,600 computers, and to find the gross profit per computer, we divide this by 1600, and we can reduce the zeros, so we get 5,000 divided by 16, which can be reduced furthermore to 2,500 divided by 8. This can be broken down further to 1,250 divided by 4. Let me just create more space here. So when you have 1,250 divided by 4, you can divide that into 6,625 divided by 2, or 312.5. So the gross profit per computer was $312.50. Let's take a look at question number 5. The question says the price at which the store sold a certain item was $80 more than what the item cost the store. Furthermore, the profit that the store made on the item was 25% of what the item cost the store. What was the cost of that item to the store? So the price at which the store sold a certain item, that's the revenue. And the revenue was $80 more than what the cost was. So if we're comparing revenue and cost, the revenue is greater. That means that we add 80 to the cost. The revenue is equal to the cost plus 80. The profit that the store made in the item was 25% of what the item cost the store. So the profit, we'll call that P, is equal to 25%, or 25 over 100, times the cost. So we can find out here that the profit is also equal to the revenue minus the cost. And revenue minus cost, if we subtract cost from both sides here, is equal to 80. This makes sense because, as we're told, the revenue is $80 more than the cost. So the difference between the revenue and the cost has to be those $80. So if revenue minus cost is equal to 80, the profit is equal to 80. Because remember, profit is equal to the revenue minus cost. So 80 is equal to 25%, or 1/4 of the cost. So the 80 is equal to the cost divided by 4. We multiply both sides by 4, and we get 320 equals the cost. So the question is, what was the cost of that item to the store? The cost was $320.